The most disturbing thing I've ever seen. This happened a few weeks back and honestly I still get chills thinking about this. Small backstory: my family and I live in the Rocky Mountains. And we all have grown up here. Every weekend of my childhood has almost always consisted of outdoor activities, including camping, off-roading, fishing, hunting, backpacking. That being said, I would consider myself very well versed in outdoor skills and knowing about the forest. My girlfriend and I recently planned our first camping trip of the season. As the snow has finally melted and the nights here have finally started to stay above 32 degrees, green plants are starting to pop up again, so it's actually warm enough to have an enjoyable time. Springtime in the Rockies really is the most beautiful setting in the US. We were eager to get out into the woods again. We loaded up my old 4x4 truck, packed up the cooler, and of course I couldn't forget my Winchester Model 70. After a long drive further into the Rockies, we hopped onto an OHV trail and took that about 30 miles off-road into basically the middle of nowhere. To some this may seem foolish, but it has become somewhat of a tradition of ours when we camp to drive as far as possible until we have just enough fuel to get back. By this point we were extremely secluded, so deep into the woods that we actually have to turn our phones onto airplane mode because it will drain the battery trying to search for satellite connection. The stars are beautiful that far out, but the main reason we do this is because the wildlife. We are both avid wildlife enthusiasts, and my girlfriend is especially fond of tracking and birdwatching, so this was the perfect spot for us. We set up camp just before sundown and hiked around the campground to get acquainted with the area. After dinner, and s'mores, and a tasteful shot of Fireball to keep us warm, we decided to crawl into the tent and enjoy the sounds of the woods as the wildlife really comes alive at night. We chatted for about an hour and drifted off to sleep together. And this is when the trip took a sinister shift. Suddenly I'm awoken to what sounds like a deer very close by to our tent. When deer get spooked, you can hear them bolt through the woods, snapping all branches and sticks as they trot away. This is the sound I heard. Some sort of creature running away. I check my watch. It's a hair past 3 a.m. I hear more twigs snapping just feet away from our tent. I wake up my girlfriend, telling her immediately, "Shush, there's something outside." At this point we're hoping to spot some wildlife, but I still grab my rifle just in case it's a mountain lion. It's pitch black in our tent, so I also grab my spotlight. I stand up in the tent to peek out the net window and get a glimpse of whatever is out there. As soon as a flick on my light, 2 eyes inches away from my face on the other side of the net. We couldn't help but scream in terror as we are face to face with the beast staring directly in our tent, with its face pressed up against the window. The few seconds this happened felt like hours as adrenaline charged through my veins. I clutched my rifle and aimed point blank at the wall of our tent and declared, "I'm going to shoot, leave, or I'm going to shoot." It stayed unmoving, just its hairy face and dark, soulless eyes looking directly at us. Without question I discharged my rifle right at the damn thing, sending a hole through our tent, and a loud echo cracking through the forest. But nothing, it didn't run off. It didn't drop. Just a face pressed up against the thin tent window. My girlfriend hysterically crying and screaming at this point, and my whole body shaking violently. I screamed out again, "Get away now," and fired yet again directly at its face. This time it dropped to the ground. We sat there shaking in silence, hugging each other, basically embracing a tremendous amount of fear. I could feel my heart pounding through my shirt, and I could feel her also shaking. After we sat there for what felt like 20 minutes, I mustered up the courage to leave the tent and see what the hell that thing I just shot was. I slowly exited the tent, with my rifle and flashlight, slowly walking to the side of the tent that thing was on. And what I found truly disturbed me to my core. I was honestly expecting to see either a dead bear or even some sort of Bigfoot creature laying there, but this was even more frightening. My flashlight lit up the beast, but instead of seeing some massive hairy body laying on the forest floor, all there was a head. A head on a stick to be exact. The face that was pressed up against our tent was some sort of makeshift fucked up head. Stitched together pieces of different leather and fur, all attached to some sort of animal skull, possibly a beaver. It had these dark marbles shoved into the eye sockets of the skull. It smelled awful, like rotting meat, some sort of diseased taxidermy. It was gruesome, as there were parts of many different animals fashioned to it to resemble some sort of fucked up creature head. It looked like a monster. This head was mounted to a long stick, shoved into the ground and purposefully positioned to be looking inside our tent. After discovering this, my adrenaline kicked again. So many questions ran through my head. Who made this? Why? Where are they? I frantically yelled to my girlfriend, "Babe, get in the truck now." She bolted to the truck, and I swiftly smashed all of our belongings in the bed of the truck, not even fully collapsing the tent. We drove through the night as fast as we could, still shaking, until I got to the main trail. To this day I still don't know who would be that far out in the middle of the woods at 3 a.m., and what sick individual would make something so disturbing. But my gut tells me there is something truly sinister going on in that neck of the woods, and I hope I never find out.